ladies and gents. Welcome to the first ever Interview Tuesdays IGTV podcast. Today's guest is going to be the amazing Makayla Lynn Foster. We'll be talking about her blogging and YouTube journey, as well as how she balances her 9 to 5 with her passions and hobbies. If this is of interest of you, please continue to watch and support. Please leave your comments and your questions in the comment box below. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. Today we have the lovely Makayla Lynn Foster. And so I'm gonna basically let Makayla introduce herself before we continue with this interview.
Yes, I'm so excited, Tasha. I'm truly just so happy that you're doing this, but of course honored that I can be talking to you today. So yes, my name is Makayla. I pretty much go by Makayla Lynn, and I am a blogger, small YouTuber, but I do have a full 9 to 5. So during the day, I'm an admissions counselor for the University of Texas at Austin. And then at night, all the way into the morning, we all know how that goes. I do have a blog. It started as a college blog, but now it's more lifestyle. And I do have a lifestyle YouTube channel. So I am doing both here in San Antonio and just trying to, enjoy 2020 and just
Yes.
get through this right now. So thank you, girl.
Girl, I totally feel you on that. So I guess the way we're going to be doing this interview is I'm going to be breaking it up to 3 parts. We're going to have a blogging part, a YouTube part, a collaboration part, and of course an adulting part. I'm definitely going to have the timestamps in the description based on if viewers, if viewers want to listen to a specific part that resonate with them or something. So, so let's just get started into the blogging aspect of it. I wanted to know, why did you start your blog?
Yeah, it was really random, actually, and it kind of ties into YouTube also. I started the blog after I started my YouTube channel, and I started both because I went through a really bad breakup, and I was like, you know what, I need to talk to people about this, and I genuinely wanted to talk about my breakup, but when I started blogging, it was in 2015, I just realized, I love talking about my transparent journey through the breakup, so it was more so my diary on my free WordPress.com blog. But yeah, I really just wanted to talk to the people, and then eventually it, became talking to college people because it became a college blog. But yeah, I just wanted to share myself with people online because I'm pretty open, whenever people want to ask me questions. So.
Okay. Yeah. And how has your blogging journey been?
It has been good. It really has been a journey that it's interesting knowing that there has been so much growth on the blog, but it also has stayed a true little corner of the internet. Mm-hmm. The college side of things, at one point, some of my college-based posts were pulling in 20,000 views a month. And then when I started posting lifestyle or working with brands, it really was a good situation. Eventually life hit and I just kind of stopped posting, but the blog still kept running. It still received a lot of views and people were still commenting. And so I am sometimes hard on myself thinking this journey hasn't really been that great because I'm the one that stops posting sometimes randomly. Mm-hmm. But overall, it's been really nice. And recently I've transitioned more into college and wellness, emotional wellness and also physical, because I was diagnosed with something that I want to share more of later down the line, and help other women with, whatever they're going through health-wise. So, yeah, it's going great, and I also have lots of plans for the future, so I'm excited.
What are your favorite apps to use to manage your blog?
Yeah, I'm definitely, the Google Suite person, so I'm for sure using my Google Calendar to schedule stuff out, Google Docs, Google Drive to keep all the files ready and handy. But whenever it comes to planning the blog, writing it out, I'm in Google pretty much to do a lot of different things, even just to have a Google Doc with ideas. But I use Trello. So I use Trello to actually plan out what I'm currently working on, if it's finished, if I'm done writing it, and then, when it's done editing. So I have a whole board where I just move the cards over so I can know what stage I'm in for all my posts. And then I use Tailwind for Pinterest. So I have Google Docs, Google Drive, then Trello, and then Tailwind, which I recommend for everyone because it helps me schedule the actual like posts that I have on my blog to Pinterest. And if people don't know, Pinterest is truly the name of the game for bloggers with full-blown websites that they want people to actually see, because Pinterest has helped me have hundreds of thousands of views, because there's just a lot of people on that app right there. So I recommend Tailwind and Trello for those, and I use other apps for like editing or different things like that, but that's more so YouTube. So for the blog, those are the kind of the main ones.
Oh, okay. Those are some new ones. I've heard of Trello, but I've never heard of Tailwind. So I'll definitely give that a try. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I definitely need some help when it comes to the managing the content and how you want to like set it up and everything. Mm-hmm. So how have you been able to grow your blog? I know you talked about Pinterest, but what were other things that helped you?
Yeah, so I was a part, and a lot of people may know if they're in college or if they just had that on their campus. I was a part of this Her Campus chapter. And so Her Campus has another little like small entity called Influence Her. So instead of influencer, it's influence and then HER. So Influence Her Collective. So I joined that once I was actually in Her Campus at North Texas at school, and I pretty much joined as like a blogger. There are other content creators on there, YouTubers, bloggers, people with small businesses, and we would just like kind of support each other, post a link to our newest blog post every day, post a link to our Facebook page, and it was just really helpful for me to at least get myself off the ground. But with that said, I really do attribute a lot of my growth to Pinterest. I really can't even tell you that social media got me a lot of people to see my content, or that Influence Her Collective. Like there were a couple people, but not the thousands. The real growth, the people who signed up for my newsletter truly were people that came from Pinterest, from very specific college or lifestyle boards on Pinterest. So I encourage people, join those boards, those community boards, so that you all can like support and post each other, because it's really helpful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I know since we're on the subject of Pinterest, are there like certain, how Pinterest has covers and stuff, are there certain covers that get more traction than others? Like how do you get people to click on that or pin it, in other words? Yeah.
That's a good question, because there is a conversation of like that featured image and how to grab people's attention. And I actually like to brand myself and have the same featured images. Okay. So I feel as though people do know me at this point whenever they're associated with like college blogging, because I do have a specific color, a specific like style of pin. And if people go to my website, on the front page, my featured images are all the same. I think it's really the title. I think the title, I like the word clickbait, but I don't like it in the bad sense where you're like lying to people. But a really juicy title, and as long as you have those in like bold words, I do feel like that does grab people. And your pin could just be a picture with a really juicy title, and I think that grabs people, because to be honest, some pins don't look too beautiful, but the content is incredible. So I do think the title is kind of like queen in that sense.
Oh, okay. So aspiring bloggers should focus on the titles.
How they grab people with those words. Yes.
Okay. Grabbing people with the words. Okay. Grabbing people with the words. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to start their own blog?
Yeah, I actually used to say, start small, just, test it out, see how it feels. But now I feel like people know that they want to try to do something. And I actually feel as though I only took it seriously when I did my little investment, which was like start paying for my domain name and my actually like hosting website. So I always want to tell people now, like, if you want to do it, then just invest. Don't invest like $100, but hosting is like $10 a month. Buying a domain name is like $15 for, a full year. So like make that investment so that you feel like you really did put into something. And then when it comes to just posting, you should do your research. You should kind of like look at people that you admire to see how they're doing things, to see how they're functioning. And whenever you feel like you know how to do something well enough, then go ahead and just start posting, and really find a way to find your groove, because I think good content is really important now. You can't just put anything out there. Yeah. But I think a lot of people are so fearful of even just pressing send, and that's keeping so many people behind, me included, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think make that small initial investment, and then once you have done that, like, make sure you do your research, and then just go for it. Just go hard.
Go hard or go home.
Go hard or go home.
I guess the last question I have for you is basically, I know with bloggers, you talked about being transparent with your content. How do you handle criticism from like family or friends or just outsiders in general about, you know, the information you decide to basically share with the whole world? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, there has been criticism for sure. And for me, I think that's a personal journey. There isn't really any advice I could give because it did take me a long time. I'm a people pleaser, and I didn't used to like to ruffle feathers. But then I realized that if I'm not being honest, then I'm straight up lying to people. Like I'm a firm believer that omitting the truth is still a form of lying, or like choosing not to share your truth with someone is a form of lying. So in my eyes, if I wasn't sharing how I really felt about things, if I wasn't sharing, because I actually talk a lot on social media about family dynamics. I know my family's not all the way okay with that because I'm really harsh about it. So I just eventually, over the last couple of years, I just realized that I would rather be all in on my truth and people will adjust, or just not say anything at all. And I've chosen the first one because I do love sharing my story. And if anything, the criticism, when you start posting things that are real and honest and that you know other people are going through, when people write me or email me and say, I cannot believe you shared that, you just saved me because I've been going through this and no one ever talks about it, that means so much more than a cousin saying like, dang, that's how you feel, or, you know, someone saying something about what I ended up sharing about myself. So just the fact that people do hear you and you are affecting positively other people's lives is a little bit more, or it helps when the criticism comes along.
Yeah, so it basically keeps you going knowing that it not only helps you to let it out, but it helps others to let it in. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, all right. Okay, now we're on to the YouTube section. I see you're doing your thing on YouTube. I love the natural hair tips, you know. So what interested you about YouTube and what made you start your own?
Yeah. Well, I was definitely like, I have been following a lot of, or I was back in 2015 when I started my channel, was following a lot of OG YouTubers, a lot of like the very typical OG YouTubers, you know, the Jenna Marbles. We won't talk about it, but I was definitely following Shane Dawson. Again, we're not going to talk about that. That's no longer. That is no longer. But YouTube Sisterhood. You know, there are some incredible women in the YouTube Sisterhood. One that I still absolutely adore is like Raven Elise, Victoria Logan, and so on. And so knowing that they were sharing themselves, you know, a couple were in college, one was like newly out of college. It was just cool to see people like basically sharing their life. So even though I wasn't vlogging when I started, I definitely did that because I wanted to share myself, you know, with others. And I felt comfortable with it because I was watching the YouTube Sisterhood and, you know, it seemed so easy. So when I did it, it really wasn't that scary back then, at least.
Yeah, I totally get that. What have you learned about YouTube since making your own channel?
Ooh, I have learned, and I'll just keep this short and sweet. I used to hate it when people would say you have to be consistent to really do anything on YouTube. Unless you're doing YouTube to just simply post something for the good of your own soul. I think the majority of people are doing YouTube because they do appreciate growth. You know, they appreciate the idea of growing, having people follow their journey or just learn from their content. And eventually people want to monetize, which is totally fine to me. I want to as well. Whenever we talk about like growing and monetization, people always said you have to be consistent for any of that to happen. And I was like, bump that. You don't have to post once a week. No, Tasha, you do. Like, really? Like, I'm sorry, but you really do have to, because at the end of the day, there is an algorithm, even if it's not as serious as we say it is. There really is something about posting regularly, and I actually tested that, and I grew so much more when I was posting once every 2 weeks. So the fact that I won't post for a couple months and then my growth is like 2 people in that month, subscribed, it says a lot. And I do feel like you really do have to be consistent. And how do we feel whenever we see people who we kind of follow from the beginning and they're posting so much and we love their content, and then suddenly, boom, they've blown up. Mm-hmm. And we're like, wow, they really did it. Like, no, I mean, they did. They put in the work. So clearly, clearly they did blow up for that reason. So yes, consistency really is. Posting regularly is truly the name of the game. So that's what I've for sure learned after starting.
Girl, that's good to know, because I'm trying.
Yes.
I'm trying.
I'm trying too. I'm still not learning myself.
People believe that YouTube is so easy. Like, just sit in front of camera and talk or make content. It's not that simple as people make it seem. It's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work. So what apps do you use to manage your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I think with YouTube, I definitely keep it more simple. So when I'm planning things, instead of going to like Google stuff, I'm on Trello. I'm creating boards to plan out, what content I'm going to create, when it's done editing, when I'm going to post it. I even on Trello post all the links I want to put in the description box, if any, even timestamps. So it's really helpful. But also, I feel like people don't realize just how powerful YouTube Studio is. Mm-hmm. YouTube has actually updated YouTube Studio to be kind of a beast. So I've been doing a lot more in YouTube Studio than I'm doing outside of YouTube Studio. And that definitely didn't used to be the case. Usually people are just used to like uploading the video and pressing like publish, Yeah. But the Studio now after they updated it, you can do a lot. You can check your analytics. That's kind of what I'm doing more now, is seeing when people want me to post, or not when they want me to, but when they're actually going to be online, and so on. And then whenever it comes to graphics, this also goes for the blog, but Canva for my thumbnails is the way to go. And I actually have the premium Canva, so that's just helping me a lot, because without Photoshop on the premium Canva, you can remove the background, so it's kind of like a mini Photoshop in a way. So yeah, those three are kind of like the main things, and I'm sure there are other things I do use, but when we're talking analytics, when we're talking like uploading and planning, like it really is Trello, YouTube Studio, Canva.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna need to hop on that Trello, because I do use Canva.
Yeah. Canva's great.
Canva's amazing. I use it for like my little thumbnails that you see on my stories that says link in bio. Yes. Hint, yes. Link in bio, So, any advice that you have for aspiring content creators?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it kind of goes with the other stuff I've already said in a way. But going off of what I've already said, definitely talking about just like small investments really help motivate you. And then just going for it. So that means just posting, and then going back to what I recently said about consistency, like all of that is really great too. But I think the last thing for sure is just authenticity. I can't tell you how many people that I really do know are good-hearted people, but it's just not authentic. It's just they're doing it for every other reason but to actually teach something, to share themselves. Because you don't always have to be transparent, but if you're teaching something, that's another way to serve people. That's another way to add actual like content that adds
value.
Value, thank you, that's the word. Yeah. So adding value, and I do feel like vlogging, that's entertainment. So if you have a really good vlog, like don't just sit there in the camera, which is what I used to do. Don't just sit there and talk to the camera. Like if you actually have B-roll, some people think, oh, that's not adding value. No, it is. I watch vlogs for entertainment. But I swear some people will just hop on a train and just try to do the bare minimum, not add value, not be authentic. And I just hope that, keep in mind doing it for the right reasons does pay off. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Now on to our collaboration section. We talked about that a little bit. Did we hit on collaborations? I think so, yeah. In the blogging section. So, so basically I want to ask, what's been your favorite collaboration to date and why?
And you know what? I really should have thought of that before. That's my fault. I would have to say that, okay, so I've really enjoyed working with Revlon for the black seed oil line that they had going, only because like I really remember shooting stuff and being a little bit different, just trying to do like a lot of different b-roll and just like lifestyle based photos for that. But I think the best, like the thing that kind of made a lot of sense for me, it sounds funny, but it was Summer's Eve. They had new like feminine wipes, and that sounds really funny, but at the same time they were natural. It was like up the alley of like my wellness topic, plus I took beautiful photos for that, and they were really happy with that. So that was like one of the best partnerships that I thoroughly enjoyed. But I feel like I'm definitely missing a whole bunch when it comes to like other opportunities I've had. But yeah, those two kind of pop in. So we had like a natural hair one, and then like a lifestyle, like feminine based one. Those are cool.
Yeah, those seem awesome, actually. So hold on. Okay. Could you talk about how you landed those collaborations and like the process? Anything that's not, I guess, technical or financial, but like, yeah.
Yeah, no, so those two were actually through email.
Okay.
Those two, they contacted me on my blog for that, and that was when I was posting more consistently, and I also was doing a lot more of my current favorites or my monthly favorites, so they definitely saw and in when they were like, wait, try out our product and see how you like it, and that was a paid collaboration for both. So I think through my email, once your content is off and people can see, you'd be surprised what brands are watching, even if you have 500 followers to 1,000 followers to 1,500, you'd be surprised who's watching and who's ready to contact you when they feel like you're going to be in alignment with them. But the other way that I do land, that I do want to mention, are just like different collectives and different places that bloggers can sign up, including like YouTube people. Things like of course, Influencer Collective, and then Clever. You do have to have a certain number of like views on the blog. But Clever is also how I've landed a couple opportunities as well. So I think you do have to be proactive to look for those collectives that you would be eligible to join. I'm not eligible for many because I don't have enough, subscribers yet. But there are some out there. So, once you have a lot of content, I feel like people will email you. If not, join the collectives and see what you can get.
Yes. Okay. Make that money, honey. How can people contact you to collaborate or work with you?
Yeah, I typically I prefer the blog because I do have like a contact page. And there's even a page on my blog that is how to work with me and just kind of explains a little bit more about what I offer. So like the different sponsorships or post the links or whatever I do. So a lot of people will just use that to use the contact page and send it over.
And another question, I guess, I don't know, do you follow Maddie James?
I do. I love Maddie James. And her sister, too.
Yes, she's awesome. Yes. And so I know a lot of people be talking about contracts and how to negotiate your pricing and stuff like that. So what kind of resources did you figure out how to price your content and your, like, what are you willing to be paid for, your content?
So I'm going to be real with you. That is a new journey for me. So the stuff that I used to get, they had a base price that they were willing to offer, and I never negotiated. So everything that I've previously done, there hasn't ever been a negotiation on my part. And they also haven't really been as open on their part because I think they also knew that I had a certain number of followers. Keep in mind, I actually was smaller in numbers back when I was doing a lot of these partnerships. So now I have grown a little bit, slightly. And I actually stopped taking partnerships for a while, even though those emails were still coming in. I just wasn't feeling comfortable. So that's a new journey. And I actually was following Maddie for that reason, because I do want to know a little bit more. And there are a lot of resources. Maddie is a perfect example. But I just encourage people to go on Pinterest and type that up or, to just kind of look around on their favorite bloggers page to see if they have help with that, because we deserve to negotiate. When we have a certain amount of influence, like, you really deserve to be paid what you're worth, and that's going to be a new journey for me. I'm so scared. It really is so scary to talk to these brands and say, hey, look, I think I deserve XYZ. Like, that's a lot, but you don't know until you try.
Definitely, because I feel like the first time when you receive it, you're just happy enough to receive
I
it
would.
that like eventually you're just like, ooh, I should just be happy I'm receiving it. But in all actuality,
Exactly.
it's like you're putting in work. You put, you deserve it. So ask for what you
Mm-hmm.
deserve.
Period, yes.
Yeah, so I can't wait till the collaborations be
It's
hitting me
coming in
up,
and you're like, wait. Right.
So now that we're done talking about collaborations, we can move on to adulting Q&A. So
Okay.
basically, this one is just going to be talking about, of course, your 9 to 5 and how you balance it. So I basically asked the question, the first question. So, how have you been able to balance your 9 to 5 job with your passions?
Yeah. So I remember we talked about this like weeks ago, maybe even months ago, my goodness. But back then I was like, I'm not balancing, I'm not doing well, I'm failing, it's hard out here. I was saying all the things because I really was not balancing. I hadn't opened my MacBook actually for weeks, which is not like me because I used to open it daily. So now it is being opened daily. And I think, I had to get myself out of the funk of like creating content and how I felt like it wasn't really making a difference. It is. I just didn't think it was. So for me, now that I'm doing it a little bit more, I've actually filmed 2 videos recently. I just use up my breaks with the 9 to 5, my lunchtime, because I'm working remotely. I film 2 videos during my lunchtime. I also think batch creating content. So like I did film 2 videos, or I will write literally 2 blog posts during lunch, because if it's a short blog post, I can probably write out 2 and just leave them to be edited for later. So I think taking up those breaks to do that is helpful. But of course, we know that we have the 9 to 5. We can't impede on that time. So I definitely will open up my computer after I do give myself a break around like 7 p.m. And I have been working kind of towards 10, but I also think it's really healthy to close that computer because it can wait. I know that we do want to work, and I did want to work when I first got back, like that drive to like hit it hard again. I was working till 1 a.m. and I was like, no, because I'm going to hate it tomorrow and never do it again for 2 more weeks,
Yeah.
So I think I do now allot myself time after work, after I've eaten and settled. But it's a lot easier to do when you're passionate about it. And I think I lost my passion, but now it's back. So a couple hours after work, and it is helpful.
Yes, definitely. It's just all about balance, because you also have to like relax and unwind, because you don't want to burn yourself out.
Not at all.
And that's like the worst feeling, is like, oh, I really want to be successful in it, but like I just don't have
I'm tired.
the energy.
Yes. That's why you
Yes.
batch content. Like, it really doesn't have to be, you batch content and then you have to work on it 5 days a week. If you film 2 things and then you write 2 things, or if you just are doing YouTube, if you just film and then you edit one day and then maybe you're posting it the 3rd day, then you can leave the other days of the week to just do you. And then you prepare yourself for the next round of batching content Monday through Wednesday or whatever you can, So I think it is possible to have like a couple of days out of the week to just really push out the stuff.
Yeah.
And then it makes it better.
Definitely need to have that organization / planner
Yes.
gene, definitely. Or at least be working on that gene. Yes.
Exactly.
So do you see yourself balancing the both for a long time, or do you want your passions to eventually become your full-time source of income?
Yeah, and I was battling that actually recently. In my head, I was thinking like, girl, do you really, like, do you want to admit that you would want your passion, like your creative projects, to be your full-time? Because at first I was like, no, I think I do want to be a professional in higher education or wherever. But no, that's changed. I am also writing a book, and I can't believe I didn't mention that. That's so funny. I'm writing my first novel. It's a fiction novel. It's a contemporary romance novel. And I realized that I would really love to be an author. Write multiple books, and I would love to be a content creator. So I think I just was kind of embarrassed because there are family members that I really do trust and that they support me, but they do have that limit that is like, wait, doing content full time? Like, can you really do that? And since I trust them so much, I think I began to start thinking like, no, that's kind of dumb. I can't do content full time. Like I can't just write full time.
Like doubting yourself, yeah.
Yeah, but now I'm like, no, I want to. And the people that don't know what it looks like, I'll just show them what it looks like. Like I'll just show them, and then they'll know what it looks like.
And you might inspire them to actually go after their dreams. You know what I mean?
Else.
Yeah. Like, if she can do it, if my cousin can do it, I can do it too.
Right.
Yeah. I definitely see that because I feel very inspired by my cousin. She's doing her thing. Atalia Struble, if you need to follow her. Also follow the other people I've interviewed too.
Yes,
but
incredible.
yeah, she's doing her thing, and so I feel like whenever I see her, just doing her thing, like, posting consistently, seeing success from it, it kind of just motivates me. Like, I'm just like, I see someone who looks like me, who came from the same family I did, like, that's like, killing it. So I don't know, it just inspires you, because sometimes I feel like when people put their doubts, it's kind of like them doubting themselves and feeling like, oh, I couldn't do it, I don't think I can do it, so I don't think she can do it. So they're like, projecting their insecurities onto you. Yeah. So
no, 100%.
I definitely see that positive outlook, though. That's really good. Because girl, you gonna inspire the next generation.
Right.
The next generation. Any advice for those who feel like they don't have enough time in the day to pursue their passions? But I think you touched on it a little bit, but I guess you can touch on it a little bit more.
Slightly.
Yeah.
So this is kind of tough love, because I was just talking to someone close to me about it. I am a firm believer, being like working previously in like a little bit of social work and kind of environment. I have seen people's lifestyles, and I have seen that there really are people out there that they have time, but the weight of the world is a lot on their shoulders. So emotionally, they can't do anything else aside from survive. So I have seen that. But when I say this, I hope people know what I mean by it, that we really do have time, which is kind of like controversial. But I was talking to somebody, and they're in grad school, and they were like, yeah, but I got to get through this before. I mean, grad school's really like, it's just a lot for me, so I can't do that yet until I finish this. But they were just playing video games for a couple hours previously. So it was kind of tough love to say, like, no, please play video games if that makes you happy. I would never tell someone to not do something that doesn't make them happy. I will watch Netflix before I ever finish a blog post, because that makes me happy, right? But whenever I think about why wasn't this blog post finished, like, why didn't I finish it on time? Because I was watching Netflix, because I did have the time to do it, but I just chose something else. So I do think people have to give themselves a little bit of tough love, a little bit of reality that, it's okay if you don't really have a lot of time left, but you do have to look at, like, well, what are you spending your time doing? And then maybe there's something when you do confront yourself about it that you can give up, like binging on Netflix a little bit too long, or, watching that extra movie that night. Because I do feel like people can find an hour. And I don't think that people have to push it either. You don't have to work for 3 hours after you've worked for 8. Like, you could just find an hour. You could do a lot in an hour. Just don't distract yourself. So yeah, I think there are ways to make time, because sometimes we do things that we don't realize is like taking up our time,
Yes. Definitely. I definitely agree with you, because I'm one of those people who are like you, that like to watch Netflix and watch YouTube, and literally just, and then it's crazy because whenever I'm watching YouTubers, I'm always like, they're doing this, they're excelling, and I'm just like, I'm over here watching their content. Like, like, why don't you go make your own content and have somebody else be wasting their time watching their content too? Yeah. Because, like, in all honesty, it's like, when we're watching Netflix, we're watching somebody's content. Like, somebody created that content, somebody either wrote it, like, to all the boys who loved, or whatever I was watching, or the Kissing Booth, like, somebody wrote those books, and they made content off of it. So eventually one day we might see a book that you wrote being turned into a movie, and just like woo woo woo. And
that's my biggest dream, Tasha, is to see my book that I'm writing, like, on a screen, like, with actors, like, portraying what I'm writing. Like, that's my biggest dream in life. I don't mind if it happens when I'm 57. Like, I don't care when it happens, but I just really want that to happen, girl. That would be so dope. My goodness.
Girl, we're speaking that into existence. God, I'm a believer. So, I know you hear. Okay. Let Makayla's books become movies, like, inspiring a whole generation, a whole new eyes. Like, yes. So. I love, and low key, this is so off base, but I feel like maybe the podcast listeners should listen, but, like, there's not really a lot of, like, are you trying to make, like, young adult, like, type of books, or is it, like, adult, like, kids? Like, what kind of genre are you trying to do? Like, I know it's fiction, but, like...
Yeah, I thought that it was going to be young adult, but I also want to include a couple little tidbits of adult content. So it is going to be more so adult,
Oh, okay.
which is actually the genre that isn't as served as young adult. Young adult is actually the one that has the most people writing for it. I thought the opposite. I thought, oh, adult has all the people writing. No, people running to young adult. So I'm kind of happy that I'm sticking to an adult romance. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was watching, I keep messing up this title. To All the Boys I've Loved Before, or The Kissing Booth, or After, or Twilight. I've watched all of Harry Potter, all of those, right? And most of them were from books, like they're, authors wrote it, and now it's a book. And I was literally thinking, like, why isn't there like a black Twilight or a black Marvel or a black like love and romance, young teenagers,
And my story is a black cast, honey. A black
and
cast.
I was thinking that, like, I was watching these movies and I was just like, I love the representation that's going on nowadays. I love the Crazy Rich Asians. I love, all, seeing, everybody being, recognized and represented. It's a little bit better than it was before. We're not all the way there, y'all, but it's a little bit better than before. But I was just thinking about that. And when you're talking about books, I was like, literally, like, we need films like that. Like, I want to see a black vampire falling in love with another black vampire. I don't know. Yes, because I feel like people honestly might think that black people don't watch Twilight or black people don't watch, Harry Potter, but there's a whole bunch of people that are black that love sci-fi and superhero movies. So I don't know, but I definitely think that's like an unrepresented section that I feel like, God, I'm about to make my own book. Like,
yes, please.
I need to, because, girl, yes.
That's so very true, though.
I was thinking about that. Yeah, we need that. We need that represented. We need some little, black girls and black boys being like, ooh, there could be a black vampire. There could be a black, and not being played a villain, like somebody who's actually like the lead character, and not a supporting character.
Funny friends.
Yes.
The black girl that's like the funny.
Ghetto,
whatever, yes,
all over the place. What's Gucci? Yeah, no.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I saw that in the Kissing Booth, and I was like, do black people really say what's Gucci?
Did you really?
Yes. I was over here like, what is going on? Like, but yeah, that was an off topic, but definitely something that needs to. So anybody out there who's listening right now and you are into writing books, please go write, and please put it out there, self-publish, whatever you got to do to get your book out there, because we need more films that are like, good and, that represent a group that's not really represented. Yes. And something that's not always, we don't always have to be in the hood, y'all. That's all I'm trying to say. We don't always have to be in the hood.
Literally, my girl is the CFO of a tech company, and it's like, why don't I see that more? You know what I mean? Like, why can't we see CFOs of tech companies? Like,
yes.
why is that hard?
See, that's what I like to see, like something that's not like a black woman who's not bitter, or a dude that's not from jail, or crack mom. Like, I want to see something more. Like, I want to like black people come in all different shades, all different backgrounds. Like, we need to see that represented. Like, I love the boy. Okay, I don't like watching Boys in the Hood, but I know a lot of people do. But I know it represents somebody's childhood, but we need to see something else. And not all people who come from the suburban are bougie either. So can we get another representation of that too?
There is another side of it.
There's another side, but sorry, I think I went on a spiel, but I need that to be said. So I'm excited about your book, girl, and once it's out, I'm gonna read it, because I love books. I love reading books.
You're gonna be a beta reader, because it's not even nearly done, but I actually want people to read it before I even send it to a publisher. So,
girl, I will read it. I can read it in like less than a week. Like, just tell me. I love books. Yeah, my mom keeps telling me I need to write a book, so I'm like, I will. I'm just trying to figure out, because if I write a book, y'all, it's gonna be about a black superhero, a black vampire, a black something.
One of them.
One of them. Like, it's not gonna be a regular, like, it might be like an After movie. I don't know if you watched After, but it might be some like After where they kind of got some issues, but they still got love for each other. Like, it might be that, but I definitely want to sit down and, like, really be like, because Twilight and Harry Potter, after you have a movie like that, you really got to make sure your book is really amazing. I be seeing movies that have layers and layers and layers and layers. Like, she made a whole new world in Harry Potter.
A whole new world. Whole new characters.
Yes. Like, if I want to do something like that, I got to make sure that it probably took her a long time to make a book like that, because you really got to think about everything. Like, Dumbledore, like, who would have thought?
Yeah, I know.
Like, they have background characters.
Like, she had whole, like, talking plants and, like, a whole thing. It was crazy.
Girl. And then she has a Fantastic Beasts series.
Yes.
Guys, if you guys really need to get into Harry Potter like me.
You do.
Harry Potter, Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey. I love movies that have sequels. Mm-hmm. Like, I just love it, but yeah. And when Makayla's book comes out, you bet I will have it on my story so you guys can go support. Yes.
You're dope.
Yes. Oh, that was a good conversation.
It was.
So the last question is basically, how can people find you? Like, how can people contact you and just, support you in your content?
Well, I think it's, I usually just give my blog, because whenever it comes to social media, like, I'm the same handle on social media, but my blog also has all the links on it. So my blog is The Makayla Lynn. It's Makayla. So TheMakaylaLynn.com. And then I do also have a YouTube channel, Makayla Lynn. And then I'm at The Makayla Lynn on literally everything on Instagram, Twitter. So yeah, I'm just bumping around. Instagram, I'm on the stories every day. Twitter, I'm talking mess every day. And YouTube and the blog, I really am trying to kick out this content. So it's coming. It is coming along. But Tasha, I just so appreciate you. Thank you, ma'am.
Girl, thank you for being my very first podcast interview.
Yes, we love it.
Oh, yes. And I feel like it was perfect because we're already, like, comfortable around each other already. Mm-hmm. So it feels like I'm just, like, so talking. Natural. Yeah. Because as you can tell, guys, in the beginning I was kind of a little bit like, but at the end you see my personality a little bit more.
So we're coming out. Yes.
It's coming out. So yes, I appreciate you coming on here and just, blessing us with your insight and your experience and, like, your journey. And I'm excited about this book. Girl, I'm definitely gonna be hitting you up like, okay, when am I gonna be reading this book?
No, like, it's a twisted too. It's like really, not to go back into it. Sorry, we're trying to end it. And I'm still talking about it.
Girl,
but it's like a thriller. Like this girl, like, she dreams, so she lucid dreams. So if you can imagine, it gets kind of like thriller-esque. Like, it gets a little bit crazy. So I'm excited.
Girl, I'm excited. Like, that is so cool. Like, girl, you gonna inspire me to write a book. I'm be over here because I literally. We're about to start a whole new conversation, y'all.
Part 2 already.
So, when I officially decide to start a real podcast and an IGTV podcast, we definitely have to come on together and talk about books and just, like, all the stuff that goes into, like, being an author and everything like that. I think that would be an interesting topic to talk about since you're, getting into that.
Doing it. And there's so many resources that I have. Like, books about writing books, and then literally I have on the MacBook something called Scrivener, and it's how you actually write your manuscript, and it's a whole app. It's like $50 that you buy for, like, to have forever, and it's the best thing that ever existed for those that want to be authors. So yeah, there are a lot of really incredible resources for people that want to get into it, and that's a good idea. We really should do that so we can share little tips and tricks.
Yes, I think that would be good. That would be amazing, because we're over here trying to inspire, empower, and uplift. You see how I brought that in? Thank you, ladies and gents, for listening to this interview. I hope you guys got as much knowledge and insight into Makayla's blogging and YouTube journey and any advice she has for any aspiring bloggers and content creators. Please give her a follow and show her some support and tell her I sent you. I am so excited to be doing this podcast, and I can't wait for the next interview Tuesdays. If you guys have a certain person that you think I should interview, please leave them in the comments below, and you never know, they might be on the next interview Tuesdays.